sit-in movements in Greensboro, North Carolina. The museum will be honoring Dr. Linda B. Brown, a Bennett College graduate. Many people think the movement began on the first day of February of 1960, but Linda Brown wanted to tell the story of others who helped plan and execute this civil rights victory.
This is Bells of Liberty, which is the book that I wrote and published as I was retiring from the faculty at Bennett College. And I wanted to tell the story of the Bennett women who were so involved in the movement. And I wanted to tell that story because it had really not been told. And I thought, I'm the one who has to tell this story for a couple of reasons. One is I was there. Another was that because I was the president's niece, I knew a lot of the backstory. And the third thing is that I'm a writer. And I thought, all those three things are not going to come together in anybody else, you know. And if this story is going to be written and it's going to be written well, I'm it.
Linda Brown had a very different college experience than most first-year students. She stayed here with her aunt, Dr. Willoughby Player, who was the president of Bennett College during this time. One time in the middle of the night, there was a knock at the door. Linda Brown was at the top of the stairs when her aunt let in a campus security officer. Linda Brown learned a lot that night about the racial relations in Greensboro in 1958.
I heard the door, and I heard the night watchman talking to my aunt, and he said, Dr. Player, are you all right? Somebody's burned a cross out here. And that was done in reference to one of the faculty members, Dr. Edward Edmonds, who had been trying to integrate the city swimming pool. I knew about racism. I knew about the struggle in the South because my mother was from Mississippi and my father was a civil rights worker. But to have it in the front yard was a little scary.
And right now we're here in front of the David Dallas Jones Student Union, right here on Bennett College campus. In the winter of 1959, Bennett students met here to plan for the sit-in movements. After the sit-in movements began in 1960, Linda Brown was hanging out right here in front of this building. A station wagon pulled up with a group of her friends, and they wanted her to join them downtown at the War of Lunch counter to sit in. She got in, and they headed that way.
There were several of us in the car, and I got in the car without really thinking about it very much, except that I knew it was something that I needed to do and should be doing. And that's when I said, maybe we should have a prayer before we go down there, because I knew that this was not a joke. That's when Gloria Brown said, no, we don't need any more prayers. We need to go down there and do something, which I agreed with her, but I thought we needed some prayers also. Anyway, I sent my own prayer up silently, and we headed out to downtown.
Linda Brown was very scared the first day she sat in at the Woolworth lunch counter. When she observed a white waitress carrying knives, she knew she wasn't the only one.
I mean, there was nothing on this tray but knives. And she walked right by us, and she was as nervous as we were, I think. She was shaking like this, and I could see those knives rattling, which was not very, that was kind of scary also. She didn't look up, you know, she was like looking like that, trying to, I guess, keep her composure. But I remember that. I will never forget that, how scared she was and how scared we were. And we were supposed to be studying, so my book was open, but I wasn't reading anything.
By the spring of 1960, the movement had spread. Students started picketing in front of the Crest 5 and Dime store and many other area businesses. Linda Brown picketed alongside her friend Mary Ellen Bender. She was an exchange student and the first white graduate of Bennett College. Picketing was a very dangerous activity.
As a white girl, you know, she was like a target. And we were walking up and down in front of Crest. And these white guys in cars kind of I think they were circling, they were driving by to heckle us. And they said things like, nigger, go home, or go back to Africa, and use profanity, and they were spitting and just very threatening. And that was actually more nerve-wracking than sitting over here at the counter. The only thing I was comforting, I knew there were some A&T men standing on each of the corners, and they were standing there to be trouble spotters, and they would have tried to help us if anything really bad had happened.
At the end of the book, Linda Brown interviews James McMillan, an art professor at Bennett College and activist during this time. And he says, there ought to be a woman on that statue at A&T.
The city did not desegregate until Johnson signed the Civil Rights Movement. And Greensboro was the last major city in North Carolina to desegregate, the last. There are so many people who here in Greensboro put their lives on the line and persevered through all those years. They need some credit. They need to be known.
Good evening, and welcome to Educate Our Youth live broadcast. I'm your host, Janet Keith Thompson, also co-founder of the Mamie Keith and Alleen Bradley Educational Foundation, also known as Educate Our Youth. The mission of Educate Our Youth is to make college more accessible through education, mentoring, professional development, and any other means available to students by offering programs such as ACT, SAT, workshops, tour college campuses, assists when applying for financial aid, financial literacy, youth and entrepreneurship, and academics and athletes. Our guest this afternoon is Ms. Taylor Adkins of Bennett College. She's a mission counselor at Bennett College from Greensville, North Carolina. Good evening, Taylor.
Good evening.
So how are you this evening?
I'm doing well. How are you?
I'm fine. So listen, let's get started by telling me a little bit about yourself, and then give the audience a little history about Bennett College.
Yes, absolutely. Well, good evening, everyone. My name is Taylor Adkins. As stated, I am an admissions counselor at Bennett, which is located in Greensboro, North Carolina. I'm also a recent graduate of Bennett College. I'm a young alumni of Bennett. Graduated in May, so 2021, very recent, very exciting. I serve as a admissions counselor now. I'm originally from Nashville, Tennessee, and so being in Greensboro and being at Bennett was not a huge culture shock, but it was a lot different than being at home. I absolutely loved my time at Bennett, and so Bennett is one of two all-women's historically Black colleges and universities for women. So one of two all-women's HBCUs in the entire country, which is amazing. So everything that Bennett does and Bennett is and Bennett will be is for the betterment and for the empowerment and the success of women and women of color, which I think is absolutely amazing. It's
It
one of the
is.
reasons, right? It's one of the
It
reasons
is.
why I chose to go to Bennett as a school. I chose Bennett. I had a ton of options. I had lots of HBCU options, a lot of predominantly white institution options, state schools, private schools. But there was something about being at Bennett. And
Okay.
we like to say she really kind of takes you in and wraps you in her arms and is like, no, this is your place now. We like Bennett chooses you. You don't necessarily always choose Bennett, but Bennett chooses you. And it's kind of unconscious and you don't realize it till you're halfway through your first year, at the end of your first
Okay.
year. And people ask, oh, how'd you like it? And you look back at it and you're just like, I think I really did like it. I didn't think sometimes you don't think you're going to like it, or you
Right.
hit some rough patches in school and you're just like, I'm leaving. I don't want to do this anymore. But then you would get to the end of even your first year, you're just like, that wasn't that bad. And then you get to the end of your 4 years and you're just like, I've grown a lot.
Yeah.
Which is fantastic. So absolutely amazing college in Greensboro, North Carolina. We were founded in 1873 as
Okay.
a co-educational institution in the basement of the Warnersville United Methodist Church, which is now St. Matthew's United Methodist Church, here in Greensboro. And it was in 1874 that newly emancipated slaves and the United Methodist Church, the Freedmen United Methodist Association, were able to purchase the land that Bennett currently sits. And then we were, yeah, right? Absolutely amazing. And then in 1926, we were reorganized as an all-women's institution and have remained such ever since. You can say the rest is her story.
You said in what year you became all women?
1926.
1926. Oh, okay. It's been a long time. So tell me, what's the criteria for admissions to Bennett College?
So we like to make college as accessible as possible for all of our young ladies. So admissions requirements, we do require your high school transcript. Minimum GPA for regular admission and scholarship dollars is a 2.5. We do offer our Emerging Scholars program for students who have less than a 2.5 GPA. So we definitely encourage all eligible students to apply. Doesn't matter if you've had a rocky education experience in high school or anything like that. We definitely want to be there for you. So you definitely qualify even under our Emerging Scholars. We do require test scores. We don't care which test, SAT or ACT, just as long as the student has taken the test, and it can be either junior year or senior year.
Sounds interesting. So now I've applied for Bennett College and I received my acceptance letter. What is the next step for me?
Next step after you receive your acceptance letter, we are so excited that you have decided to join us and Bennett has welcomed you with open arms. You'll meet with our director of financial aid, one of our financial aid representatives, to go over your options as far as the financial aspect of school, because we know that that is a big difference maker for a lot of our students, but we want to be as accessible as possible. So tuition and fees for Bennett are about $29,000 a year, and that's room and board, tuition, textbooks, laundry.
Okay, laundry's included.
Laundry's included. We do not have to pay for laundry, and I think that is the most amazing thing, because when I was a student, even though I just graduated, when I lived on campus, we had to pay. It was $1.25 to wash and $1.25 to dry, and trying to find quarters. I said that was sisterhood to me. If I was able to if somebody gave me their quarters so I could do laundry, that was sisterhood. That was my definition of it for the longest time. But now it's free. Students are free to do their laundry as many times you could do 6 loads of one sock.
Wow. Okay.
But that's $29,000 a year. Tuition makes up about $20,000 of that, and then all the little incidentals. We do offer scholarships starting at that 2.5 GPA. And we're also a UNCF, United Negro College Fund affiliated institution. So students are eligible to apply for UNCF scholarships as well. And they are absolutely amazing. I was a UNCF scholar while I was at school. And I absolutely cannot say more about this organization and what they do for HBCU students.
So when you apply, backing up a little bit, when you apply for Bennett, is there an audition process, essay process, or you just submit the application?
So you can submit your application as well as your supplementary documents. So the SAT and ACT scores, your transcript. Essays are optional. I always highly recommend submitting an essay just so we're able at Bennett and other colleges and schools are getting a holistic view of who you are as an individual. So we can make sure that we're the best fit for you as a college, and then you're the best fit for us, and that this is going to be a really great long-term relationship. We don't just want your money off that. We want to make sure that this works, and we want to be able to support you as an individual. And then letters of recommendation are optional as well.
Okay. So first year student, freshman, what is it like for a freshman, first year on campus?
First year students on campus, it is a completely new world. I always like to say that there are a couple different sides to college. A lot of you are not just there for school. It's not just school anymore. And you're not just learning inside the classroom. The four walls are not the confines of your learning while in college. So you're learning in the classroom, in your residence hall, out on the quad, in the student union, in the cafeteria. So there's lots of experiences to be had. Bennett is a really great place to do that, because not only are we a smaller, more intimate learning environment on campus, we're also part of a consortium. So students can take classes at North Carolina A&T State University, which is right up the street, University of North Carolina, Greensboro. But first year students have Greensboro is kind of their oyster. A couple things that we do a little differently: first years aren't allowed to have their cars on campus, just because we want to encourage students to ride the bus. They are not.
They're not. Okay.
They're not. But we encourage students. We have free transportation in Greensboro. So students have access to the HEAT bus, which is higher education area transport. So the bus will take you to all the college campuses in Greensboro, Walmart, the mall, any place that college students want to be. And that's the HEAT bus. But students also have access to the Greensboro Transit Authority. So it's completely free to ride public transportation in Greensboro for students at Bennett. So you're going to get to learn Greensboro from a different perspective, and building relationships, figuring out how to navigate a new space, and doing that with friends and your roommate. Oh, let's go downtown. You can walk as a group, get a couple of friends together, or you can go with a couple of friends and get on the bus and try to figure that out. So it's a really nuanced experience. So you're going to figure it out. Bennett is big on experiential learning inside and outside the classroom.
So what, how accessible are your administration, your registrar, your faculty, staff? How accessible are they to students?
They are absolutely accessible. Almost 24/7, not quite, because they do have some free time. They are people too, but even the president of our institution, Suzanne, Elise Walsh, JD, the 19th president of Bennett College, likes to walk around campus, especially when students are out and about. She's very active on social media, likes to take selfies with students, talk to students. She knows students' names and faces, and if she doesn't know you, she wants to get to know you, because she'll tell you that she doesn't know who you are and wants to know who you are. She's very honest about, oh, I haven't seen you before. What's your name? Where are you from? What are you doing? What's your major? What's going on? And that it's a complete trickle down effect. And that's the president. So our vice president of enrollment management and student experience, she's absolutely amazing and involved and engaged with students. Our dean of student experience, our vice president of academic affairs, meets with students on a semi-regular basis just to check in and see how classes are going, what could be better, what could be different. Our director of campus life and student engagement is always in her office, and if she's not in her office, then she's down in the cab, she's walking the campus. So students are able to access not only senior level faculty and staff, but they're also able to, of course, access their professors. Their professors are required to have office hours. And so we offer a tech-enabled hybrid situation for Bennett students. So we do have on campus, and that's the primary, but there are some days you'll have like an asynchronous class where you meet 3 days a week, but that third day you're completely virtual, working on a project, meeting with friends, meeting on Zoom. But your professors still have office hours. They have in-person office hours and Zoom office hours for the students who aren't able to be on campus during their office hour times. So students have complete access to their professors, being able to make those connections and build those relationships to make sure that you're successful inside the classroom and outside the classroom.
Okay. Well, your administration sounds like they're very hands-on, and that should put a lot of parents at ease, listening to what you just said, because it's nice to know that the president of the college know who her students are. So what's an average student graduate? Does it take 4 years? A lot of students take 5 years to graduate. What's the percentage of students that graduate within a 4-year period at Bennett?
Within a 4-year period, we have a really diverse student population. So we have a lot of transfer students and non-traditional students. So our data is a little different than everybody else's.
Okay.
But about 75% graduate within a traditional 4-year track from start to finish. I graduated in 4.5, and I transferred, came back, studied abroad. I did a whole lot. And so I still graduated on time, and my parents were very excited about that. But we professors, admissions, we do everything we can to make sure students have the college experience that's most beneficial to them. So if that means that they finish in 3.5 years or 5 years, or they take a break and come back, whatever is going to benefit the student in the long term, because we really care about individuals and not like, oh, look, did you graduate in 4 years? No, but I had a great college experience, and I have all these experiences. I have internships and fellowships, and I'm able to take the experience I had in undergrad and move them on to another degree.
So you mentioned studying abroad. So you do have courses where your students can study abroad. Do you have international students coming to your campus?
Yeah, so I could go on for days about study abroad. I was an intern for the Center for Global Studies at Bennett, so it's one of my favorite departments on campus. But absolutely, our Center for Global Studies is really hands-on with every single student who shows even a micro interest in studying abroad, from identifying programs that best fit them. Our Center for Global Studies and our study abroad coordinator are really big on, if you're a biology major, you're not studying art history in France for a semester, 2 weeks, a year, because that doesn't help you in the long term. But you can study women's health and medicine in Zimbabwe, or health and wellness in countries in South America, in Colombia, and Brazil. So lots of really great resources, and they also help identify funding for these programs. So that way students and parents and support teams are not deterred by a financial burden to study abroad and have that global experience. We actually have 5 Gilman Scholars from our campus, and that is one of the most prestigious study abroad scholarships. It's facilitated by the U.S. Department of State. And so it is the Benjamin A. Gilman Scholarship. And so it's absolutely fantastic that we have 5 Gilman Scholars who have studied abroad or are going to study abroad in the near future. And that's this year.
Okay. So you do have companies that you have students can join them for internships. And are the companies located in Greensboro, or are they out of state?
So we have tons of internship opportunities. Our Office of Career Services works really hard and diligently along with our partner institutions. We've had students intern with Peloton, Disney, ABC, Coca-Cola, ASCAP, which is the American Composers Association. We've had students intern with the North Carolina Department of Public Transportation and Public Safety. We've had quite a few White House HBCU Initiative Scholars. So we have a wide variety of internships, and our Office of Career Services works really hard to make sure that all of these internships are paid. Because we believe that students should be paid for the work that you are doing. If you are working full-time, you should be being paid for that work, because experience does not pay the bills, contrary to popular belief.
Right, exactly. So I would assume that with your administration being as well as they are, that student living on campus, that students have access to the tutoring labs, writing labs, math labs, things of this nature on campus.
Yes, absolutely. So our Office of Student Success and Engagement and our Office of Accessibility Services work really hard to coordinate and work together to make sure all of our students have access to the resources that are going to be most beneficial to them, whether that be academically or mental health, physical health. We do a holistic approach to student life and engagement at Bennett. And the Writing Center is one of the most popular places on campus, mainly because it's a requirement. For most classes, most professors will require you to go to the Writing Center or have a Writing Center. They meet on Zoom now. Before you can submit an essay, it's part of the grade that you go to the Writing Center and have them go over it with you. And we have professional writing tutors and peer writing tutors, professional math tutors and peer math tutors, because sometimes it just makes more sense to meet with a student who knows, like, oh yeah, you took this class. What are we talking about?
Okay. So tell me about this Love Scholarship.
Yes.
And
So
any other scholarships that Bennett may offer for our listeners, because there's students and parents that's probably listening, so they would like to hear about the scholarships y'all offer students.
Absolutely. So if you look now, our wonderful Beyonce and Jay-Z power couple, they are absolutely fantastic. And so the great thing about Bennett is we are an About the Love Scholarship partner school. So the About the Love Scholarship is for students who are interested in the arts, which at Bennett includes journalism and media studies, music, and visual arts, and then history, or if you have a minor in any of those areas in those fields. So students are able to apply for that scholarship, and the details. So it's from Beyonce, Jay-Z, and the Tiffany Co. program. And so we are one of 5 partner schools to receive that scholarship donation. We have a lot of scholarships for incoming freshmen which are also fellowships. So you can apply for the fellowship, and they provide funding, and then also internships and summer series and different things to help students throughout their entire matriculation at Bennett. So from start to finish, there's always something going on for students. And then for students who are already on campus, we offer tons of renewable scholarships and different things as they come out each year. And so more is on our financial aid page about financial aid, but lots of scholarships. And again, those UNCF scholarships are available to students as well.
Great. So a freshman could come in with a scholarship that you offer, that your college offered to them, and in addition to any grants that they might be eligible for.
Yes, absolutely. So we get every dollar that you can, because, and then for me personally, I learned this from my dad. I really wish I hate saying it every time I do it, but I know he listens, but I wish I would have listened to my dad when he told me to just apply. You never have too many scholarship dollars, but there's so much scholarship money out there and available to students. And I know that it can, especially for students, it can get a little hard, it get frustrating, discouraging, because I was in the exact same place pretty much all 4 years, because my dad was apply for scholarships. So I did. But the money is out there. So students can come in with scholarships, and then when they meet with our financial aid representatives, they'll go over the scholarships, the institutional scholarships that they're eligible for, and to kind of close that gap, because you should not have to pay for your first degree, or any degree really, but that first one, there's enough money out there for somebody else to pay for it.
Yes, it is. So let's talk about campus life. Dormitories, for instance, do you have off-campus housing, or all your housing is on campus?
So all of our housing is on campus. So Bennett sponsored housing is all on campus. Our residential life right now, we have traditional and suite style housing. So suite style housing, our students it's them, a roommate, common space, suite mate, their roommate. And so you're sharing a space with 4 people, but only 2 people to a bathroom. So it's you and your roommate share your bathroom. And then traditional style housing, of course, you and a roommate share the bathroom with the hall. Both really great experiences. I was much more of a suite style girl myself. I stayed in the honors hall. So honors is our suite style residence hall. I stayed in honors all 4 years. You do have to have a 3.0 to live in honors, and I came in with a 3.0, and I kept that. I said, I'm not going anywhere. But we have lots of options for students. And then Greensboro is a college town. So students are looking to move off campus. Pretty much between sophomores and seniors, a majority of them choose to move off campus. Housing is available for all 4 years. You just have to submit the housing application. but we do have students who choose to live off campus. And since Greensboro is a college town, lots of student housing available.
Right. Okay. And I know you are the first college well, like you said, there's only 2 in the country, HBCUs, that's all females. So what do you do for activity on campus? And I mean, do you have basketball on campus? What type of athletic programs you have for women?
Yes, absolutely. So Bennett doesn't offer any competitive sports teams or division level sports teams. If students
Okay.
are interested in athletics, they can contact the coaching staff and the recruitment staff at North Carolina A&T State University.
Okay.
And we do have a partnership with A&T for students who are interested in dance, cheer, volleyball, and I believe basketball. And you're
Okay.
able to make those connections and still participate in division level sports, but being a Bennett College student. But on campus, we offer more collegiate kind of intramural level. If you want to do like a little 3-on-3 with a couple of your sisters, like that's more of the level. It's more recreational at Bennett. But we also offer tons of student clubs and organizations based on a variety of interests. So students are interested in politics, environmental justice, dance, modeling. If they're interested in international affairs and international relations,
Okay.
lots of different options on campus. And we also do offer Greek life, and that becomes an option their sophomore year.
Oh, okay. So you do have some Divine Nines on campus.
Yes. So
Yes.
we have active 3 out of the 4 Divine Nine sororities currently.
Okay. Okay. Sounds good. So, is safety an issue on campus, being as all females?
Safety is not an issue. We have a fantastic public safety team, and they are available 25/8.
Okay.
They are round the clock, absolutely amazing team of men and women who keep our campus safe. They do patrols around campus. We have dorm residence hall checks. They'll go into the residence hall, do a sweep around on the inside, sweep the outside. We have a log so we can see when they've been in, how long they were there. We
Right.
have the resources for students when campus is on and open, and then you have like a late night class on campus is not that big, but it is a bit of a walk. And should it be a
Okay.
little late at night, we do have the resources. You can contact public safety and they'll give you a ride from if you're on like the student union side of campus over to the residence hall or wherever you are. Lots of resources. We get notifications. There is a notification system set up where students get text notifications if there's something going on campus or in the immediate Greensboro area. So if there's something going on at A&T that might pose a problem or an issue or a safety concern for students at Bennett, they're notified about it.
Okay.
Same goes for weather alerts, especially if you're coming from out of state. The weather can be a little bit tricky in North Carolina.
yeah.
So
Yeah.
if there's a major weather alert, students are notified about it. So lots of really amazing resources. And then you get to, the security guards are the same as everybody else. They get to know your name, you get to know their name, know their face. And it's really exciting to kind of see them on campus because they like to engage. And one of our favorite security guards on campus, there's a couple, but one of our favorites, his name is OG. Everybody calls him OG. And OG will make sure you are straight. It doesn't matter if he's on the clock or not. If he's on campus, OG will make sure that everything is good. And we love that, being able to really connect and engage with the people who keep us safe.
So how was the surrounding community?
Yeah, so Greensboro is an amazing area, and especially the thing about Bennett, since we were founded in 1873, we got the land in 1874, beginning a women's college in 1926. Greensboro history is Bennett history is Greensboro history, and the community at large is really grounded around where Bennett is. We're like 5 minutes from downtown. So a lot of community engagement, community resources. Bennett has been a staple in the community. And so we do have a bit of an older population in our immediate surrounding area. And so lots of just really good community environment. Of course, there's crime in every area, but Bennett, and like I said, our campus safety and campus security, you figure it out. And so it might be a little different from the area that you're from, but the community really, they pretty much leave us alone. They're just like, no, that's Bennett College. You know, if you're gonna start some mess, don't do it over there. Like,
yeah, right.
We take care of our Bennett Bells, and you go out in the community, you go to the mall, you go shopping, you go to restaurants that have been here for a while, and they'll know like, oh yeah, I go to Bennett. And they're like, oh, you're a Bennett Belle. They can tell, and it's a really great experience being able to engage with the community like that.
So Bennett Belle, is that a former mascot, the name, or?
So the Bennett Bells, we are the Bennett Bells. It's not necessarily a mascot since we don't have like sports, but
Right.
the bell is an integral part of Bennett story and Bennett history. And so we do have the old bronze bell, which resides on campus. And it symbolizes the fact that we are forever historically ringing the fact that when we raise our voices and make noise, people listen.
Okay.
And if you don't come in with that kind of ability, capability, you don't really feel like you can, it's definitely already in you. Bennett would not have chosen you if it wasn't. And so Bennett helps develop, and you get to watch that matriculation from kind of like little ding bell to the old bronze bell. And it's a very integral part of tradition and history at Bennett. It's only rung on special occasions and the start of ACEs.
Okay. And are y'all virtual or are you in class now with COVID? You know, what's going on with COVID-19? So are you virtual or are you in class?
So we have a tech-enabled hybrid option. So we are offering in-person classes. That's actually our primary. We do, students are in class in person, except so Thanksgiving, we take a different approach to the holidays, especially now with like COVID, but even before then, these plans were already in action. So students left home to go for Thanksgiving, and they won't come back until the spring, just because we know that there's also a financial burden. Yes, because there's a financial burden with having to go home for Thanksgiving, get a flight, especially if you live out of state, get a flight or a train to get back, and then 2 weeks later have to go right back home for Christmas break. So students are now completely virtual for the rest of this semester. So all of their classes will be held online. So that way they're not traveling back and forth. There's not that financial burden or that health concern with students coming from different areas of the country, kind of back and forth in a short period of time. The really fantastic thing about Bennett is that this entire fall semester, from when students moved in August till when they left right before Thanksgiving, we have had 0 cases of COVID on our campus.
Oh, great.
0 student cases. So that is absolutely fantastic, especially because we are a college campus. We're in a college town, so there's a lot going on. There's lots to do. North Carolina A&T had their homecoming in October. So the fact that we have maintained 0 student cases is absolutely amazing. And we're really proud of all of our students for taking their health, the health of themselves, the health of their sisters, and the health of their community very seriously.
Oh, yeah. But due to COVID, a lot of universities and colleges are not requiring the SAT score. So are y'all in that position as well? And now you're testing once the students come on campus?
So we do require students to be fully vaccinated in order to live and take classes on campus. And then we do testing. Students are tested weekly. Literally every week, students are tested weekly. So that's a twofold approach to making sure that students are staying safe and staying healthy. And since we've had 0 student confirmed cases, we haven't had to use our COVID health and quarantine plan. But those plans and everything has been thought out to the tiniest micro level to the macro level, like from if there's one student who has a sniffle, what's happening to if there's an outbreak at the college. And we have not had to use any of those contingency plans, which is absolutely fantastic.
Okay, but for college entrance exam is what I was referring to, like for the SAT, and because of COVID, a lot of universities and colleges are not requiring students to take the ACT and the SAT, but they are giving them placement tests once they arrive on campus. How does that fit in with Bennett College?
So Bennett, we do still require SAT and ACT scores. We don't have a minimum or maximum score requirement, just that the student has taken the test.
Okay. Oh, okay. So they have to show that, or they do. If they haven't taken the SAT, will you accept them and then do a placement test, or?
So we aren't making any admissions decisions. Students do have to submit their test scores to receive an admissions decision.
I got you. So tell me, what advice would you give our audience about admissions, and what advice would you like to tell us about financial aid and financial services?
Yes. So admissions, apply. Every door is open to you. There's no shut doors. I don't think I can get into this school. I don't meet 110% of their requirements. I don't have a 4.0. There's no reason to shut the door yourself. Every door is open to
Right.
you. Just walk through it, submit the application. It is a really amazing experience, and it can be a little nerve-wracking, and that's okay.
Yeah.
But literally the worst they can say is no, and I can promise you, you will not be rejected from every single school you apply to. That is typically worst case scenario. It's not going to happen. There is a school out there for you. I recommend HBCUs. There are 107. Pick one, apply
Yes.
to all of them. They are amazing institutions. And then as far as financial aid, submit your FAFSA if you have not already. Students, get your part done. Parents, please make sure that you complete your part, because a lot of times that's the slowest end of the deal, trying to make sure you have all your tax records confirmed. But submit the FAFSA as soon as possible, the free application for federal student aid. And even if you know that, well, I make too much money, I'm not going to qualify for federal aid, a lot of schools still require it in order to do the financial aid package. So in order to make that process super quick and speedy and expedite that process as much as possible, go ahead and submit it as soon as possible, because you never know how much money the government will give you. But just make sure that you get that done as soon as possible, preferably before the end of the year. And that financial aid, there are tons of scholarships out there. And even if it's a little $500 book scholarship from your church, or a little $100 scholarship from this organization over here, money is money is money is money, and it will help you in the long term. And a lot of times, especially smaller scholarships and smaller organizations, they're handing you a check, they're handing you cash, and so do not spend it all in one place, and kind of hold off on that. And if it's not going to go to like your tuition or your room and board, save it for room decorations, because those can add up. Room decorations, save it for textbooks, save it, put some, if somebody at your church slide or organization or wherever you go out, you have a grandparent, an aunt and uncle, they slide you $20, get gift cards for your favorite fast food restaurants and save some money, because you're always going to want to eat. It doesn't matter how much food you eat in the CAF, you're always going to want to eat. But apply to every scholarship, doesn't matter how much or how little, because the money is out there. Like I said, you should not have to pay for your first degree, any degree, but especially not the first one.
Right. And finally, give the students and parents that's listening some advice on how a child should go through beginning from freshman year. Tell us a little bit about time management, some of the things that they may encounter while a student in college, not just at Bennett, but anywhere, because it's pretty much the same. Students going to go through some of the same things wherever they are on campus. But share with us what you think a student needs to make it.
College is hard. I say that, that's the first sentence I say, and it sounds a little odd. Like, why would you say that? Because nobody ever told me that. Nobody ever told me that college was hard, because I went into school thinking like, oh yeah, this is going to be just like high school. I did really well in high school. I struggled a little bit, but not really. Like, it was because of me. When you get to school, it is a completely different world, because you're adjusting to so much. It's so at a short period of time. You're adjusting to living on campus, away from home. You're adjusting to a state. If you choose to go out of state, you're adjusting to different food. You're adjusting to do a different time schedule. You may be in New York where everything's open 24/7. Then you come to Greensboro and everything closes at like 9 o'clock. So it's hard, and that's okay. You are not alone. There's somebody in your room, down the hall, up the stairs, across campus, who is going through the same thing, and that's fine. You are okay. Everything will be fine. You will graduate with a degree in the right time for you. I always tell students, even though I just graduated, so I'm speaking from personal experience here. You can do it. Be prepared for late nights and early mornings. Be prepared to make decisions based on what's best for you. Peer pressure does not look like, hey, we're going to go do this. You need to come with us. It looks like, oh, hey, we're having, the RAs are putting on a midnight breakfast in the CAF. Do you want to go with us? But you know, you have a 3-page paper, 10-page paper, 15-page paper due tomorrow or the next day. And you have not started, or you need to do your review or your edits. It's making the choices that are going to be best for you long term in spite of what's going on around you.
Yes.
And so that's really important. It's a lot, and you're going to figure it out, and you're going to stumble, and you're going to fall. But that's why choosing the right college for you is so important. So that way you have the resources and the people around you to pick you back up, bolster you up, and like, okay, we're going to dust off and let's go. You fell down. That's fine. We're not going to let you wallow in it. You're going to scrape your knees, and we're going to let them stay scraped so you learn your lesson. But we're going to move on and move forward and move past this. So being in that space and being in that environment that is most conducive for your success as an individual, and finding that place for you. Like, it's hard, but it's so worth it. It's so worth it.
It sounds like you're a fantastic student, and you're going to be an asset to that admissions department. It's been a pleasure. You were very informative with me tonight of giving the public information about Bennett College. I had the opportunity to watch that video, Dr. Brown, when Educational Talent Search toured Greensboro, and we took the students to the Wilworth Center. So I saw that video then of her explaining what went on with the sit-ins and stuff. So a lot of history there in Greensboro, and it's a nice place to visit if you want to recapture some of that or just expose your students to it. And I really appreciate you coming on tonight. But before we go, I need to tell my audience that we won't be back on until January, and wishing everybody a happy Christmas. And for those of you out there that's listening, we are accepting donations, educational talents, educate our youth. You can go to our website at MK. I always forget my website, believe it or not, but you can go to educateouryouth.info and click on donations and make a donation. Small or large, we'll accept whatever you give, happily accept. So don't keep us in mind over the holidays. And Taylor, you have a safe holiday, and I appreciate you coming on. And take care.
Yes, thank you for having me. Thank you, everybody, for watching. And I wish you all a very safe and happy holidays. Merry Christmas, Happy New Year's, Happy Hanukkah, Happy Kwanzaa, all of the above.
All of that.
Thank you so much for having me.
All right. Have a good evening. Bye-bye.